Good evening. Today is Thursday, July 2nd. Welcome to another LPTexas candidate interview segment. My name is Nathan Polsky. I'm the campaign support director for the state party. Tonight we've got Darren Hamilton. He is running for Texas House District 57. I'll also have David Feit joining me again for co-hosting. So format for this evening is we've got a series of questions we will be sending to Darren. We've also got live chat on YouTube, X, Facebook, also on Rumble. So if you are streaming along, feel free to toss your questions into the chat, comments, and if we've got time towards the end of the segment, we'll go ahead and bring them up and throw some curveballs to Darren and see how he takes it. So moving on, here we go.
Swing and a miss.
Swing and a miss.
Yeah.
Welcome.
I do
Darren.
I do not do curveballs well. Just so you know.
Well, now that you've said that, we're going to get some curveballs in the chat. So, well, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
David, thank you for co-hosting as well again. So, Darren, why don't we just go ahead and get started off? All right. So, Darren, let's get started off with just introduce yourself. Who are you? And actually, we can do our first question for the evening. Why are you running for the Texas House, and what do you believe your district needs most from its next representative?
Okay, fair enough. So my name is Darren Hamilton, and I am the Libertarian candidate for Texas House District 57. I started running mostly because I think the voters deserve more than just being told to hold their nose and pick between the lesser of two evils. Whether people agree on me with every position, I really isn't the point as far as I'm concerned. The point is whether that I think voters deserve meaningful choices, honest conversations, and I guess representatives who answer to the voters instead of to donors. And so the second part of your question was, I'm sorry, what?
What do you believe your district needs most from its representative?
What do I need? You know what I think the district needs is less of what everybody says that the district needs. It needs fewer incentives. So when I talk to the people out in the real world, the biggest objection that I hear to the things that are going on very recently, it's been data centers, a couple of other things, homeless interference, that type of thing. It seems to be about incentives, because the politicians will end up saying whatever it is, and we all know this, they'll say whatever it is that they think we want to hear in order to get them past the post and into the seat. I'm not doing that. I'm not telling you what I think you want to hear. I'm telling you what I think, and if that gets me your vote, great. And if you still think that somebody else is a better candidate, vote for them.
Perfect. All right.
Yeah.
All right. David, we're going to kick it over to you for our follow-up question here.
All right. Question 2.
Uh-oh.
Texas has grown rapidly, but many residents still face high property taxes and rising local debt. What would you do in Austin to give taxpayers lasting relief?
Lasting relief. Well, again, the part of it has to do with incentives. I'm thinking that, especially again with the data centers, is that big business is coming in and saying, we want all of this. Every system that we have produces the specific behavior that we want it to emulate, or that it rewards. So if a system rewards customer service, you get better customer service. If a system rewards innovation, you get better innovation. So in this case, the political system is rewarding fundraising and partisan loyalty and media attention. So that's exactly what they end up getting. I'm not thinking that I'm thinking that the question isn't whether politicians are good or bad people. The question is whether the incentives encourage them to behave in ways that serve the voters, and far too often the answer is no. What would I do in Austin? I would start trying to get rid of the incentives. I know I seem to keep harping on that, but that's just what's been going on in my head lately. Is trying to find ways to say, okay, you as a legislator, you as a politician, you as a local town councilor, what have you. There are going to be limits to what you can receive as a bribe, which is what essentially it seems to come down to. The incentives for politicians to accept big business ideals is just, I think, short-sighted. They haven't thought through everything.
Yeah,
Did that answer any of the questions?
I think so.
Okay, just want to make sure.
I was sitting there going, yeah, along with you, and then realized I was muted for most of that. But
Yeah, when we're talking incentives, we're talking like tax relief, we're talking lobbying,
Yeah.
and
Well, I mean,
somebody's paying for it somewhere.
someone's paying for it somewhere, except in my campaign.
Mhm.
Okay, so so for instance, let's imagine you're a legislator. What do you think that you're going to need? Well, you're going to need campaign money. You're going to need party support. You're going to need favorable media coverage. You're going to need to survive the primary election if you're in one of the two major parties. So how much time is left for governing? Well, I'm getting rid of all of that. I am not accepting campaign donations, and I'm not asking for campaign donations. There's a couple of reasons for that, but it primarily has to do with me being lazy. I just don't want to fill out the paperwork. No, seriously though, if I get elected because I don't have campaign sponsors, or because I'm not, the people can see that I'm not going to be beholden to anybody, and I will actually serve their interests, then that's a win. If I get a vote because of that, that's a win. Um, and then it's also kind of a statement to say, hey, look, you can launch a true campaign without having to dip into, the insane campaign coffers of the Republicans and the Democrats.
You don't want to start with a $2 million coffer going into your campaign.
Well, I wouldn't mind, but I think the point is that there so far there hasn't been too many there haven't been too many fees or something where I've paid that I haven't been able to absorb. So yes, there has been money that has been going out. For instance, I pay for a website host. So there is money going out, but it's not something that's so extravagant that I would need campaign donations in order to make it work.
Right.
well, if you cozied up to your party a little bit more, we could help you out with. Just kidding.
And that's what I was telling a friend of mine, was that the neat thing about being a libertarian is that we right now don't have a large scale centralized party structure. So if we were to go, if I were to get elected, I wouldn't have somebody at the national level coming down and saying, hey, you need to do this, where they wouldn't expect me to say, bite me.
Yeah, they might come down and say you need to do this, but
And I
they
would
can't.
definitely tell them, bite me.
Right.
Yeah. If that goes against what I think the people in my district want, no,
Right.
I wouldn't support it. If
Yeah.
I think it's going to benefit the people, if I think it's going to make people more free, then I will probably support it, whatever the issue is. If I think it's going to make people less free, I won't support it. And that's where I kind of stand on most of the culture war issues that are prominent in the media. Uh, I don't look at them as making people more free, and so I don't support them.
Oh yeah.
Good deal. All right, let's move on to our third question. All right. What state laws or regulations do you believe make it harder for Texans to start businesses, build homes, work, or use their own property?
Oh, good grief. I don't think the show's
How
that
long do we
long.
have?
Yeah, I know the show's not really that long. Um, I really, crap, I don't know. So I think it if the idea is to ask what would I do when I get to Austin, which you've asked before, but seems like it would probably end up applying here too. I think I'd stop pretending that every problem has a quick fix.
Hmm.
Most of the challenges that we face, uh, even though they want to simplify it, hence the proliferation of culture war issues. Um, it took decades to actually develop those particular issues in the way that they currently are, and they're not going to disappear because one election goes one way. Um, there are several reforms that I think I would want the government to make it more the government itself more responsive to voters. But a common thread throughout all of that is accountability. How do we make elected officials more accountable to the people that they represent? I think that's the question. There are a few reforms that I think we could probably make. One of them, make the voters. I always get this phrase mixed up. Make the voters the donors. So one thing I've talked about is the idea that campaigns and candidates should spend more time earning votes than raising money, which is right now completely backwards with the campaigns that you even the ones that you hear about on the media. They're always talking about how much this particular person raised or how much that particular person raised, as if those are indicators of how well that person's going to govern. Um, but what's unfortunate is most political influence is often tied to financial influence. So even when nothing illegal occurs, voters notice that the major donors tend to get the perks. They have greater access than ordinary citizens.
Mhm.
So there's that. We can try and reduce the influence of major donors to campaigns and to political candidates. Um, Competition. Speaking of donations to campaigns and campaign candidates, um, competition improves almost everything, and I'm fairly certain that politics should not be an exception. The more choices that voters have, which is why I'm staying on the ballot, then I think the more responsive the voters become,
Right.
and the elected officials become responsive to the voters. Uh, if you know which is the can, so I was thinking about this morning. If you know, for instance, that I am not taking campaign donations, then you also know that I am not going to be having uh, the big MC on the on speed dial. They're not going to be calling me all the time. Hey, we need a favor.
Mm.
Um, but also, you're going to know that since I made that promise early on in the campaign, if that ever does change between now and election, it kind of shows you where my principles would end up falling.
Mhm.
Because if I say this is one of my principles and I don't keep it, what does that say about me as a candidate?
That you're like most of the rest of them?
And I'm
It's
trying
work for the
so hard.
others.
I'm trying so hard to differentiate myself.
Right.
Hence this, and I got here. Hang on, my
I
eagle
do.
head.
Love the shirt.
Yeah, and then my eagle head.
There we go. Man,
Can you
that's
hold
the
on?
thumbnail for the episode right there.
I
Yeah,
was about to say, send me a picture of that, and we'll make that your campaign stuff on the website.
yeah. I took this to the national convention, so I was wearing this at the national convention too.
That's awesome. All right, we've got one more question here. We'll kick it back
Okay.
over to David.
What do we got? All right. How would you defend local control while also protecting individuals when cities, counties, school districts, or state agencies overstep their authority?
You have to load it all up on the thing like that.
Yep.
Oh man, what the? All right, so everybody's uh, uh, everybody's a big fan. They all say that we're a big fan of local control. Um, in my town, I know the mayor, not very well, but I know the mayor. I know a couple of the people on the city council. Um, and if I were looking at it the way that I was taught to look at it, then those people would probably have uh, the biggest heads. No, the biggest jobs because they're closest to the people. As a representative at the state level, I would be farther away from the people, but still close enough to say, hey, meet me on the street. I'm going to be over here at Starbucks. Come and have a chat. But I think the farther away that you get from the people, the less authority you should have. And we seem to have that backwards. But let's see. So, but your question was,
How would you defend it?
how would I
How,
defend it?
yeah, how would you
Uh,
defend local control?
how would I defend local control? I would basically say these are the people. So if I'm living in a community, I think I have a better understanding of the people in my community than the people who are farther away. The farther away you get, usually the less informed you are. While you are taking in larger and larger areas, the farther away you are from the people, the less information you have about the people.
Mm-hmm.
I would defend local control by saying they are the closest to the people, so they should have more of a say in anything that's going on at the community level.
So
What happens when that local control is overstepping? Though? That's kind of the second half of the question being if the if a locality is being tyrannical, then it's kind of on the state to try to step in and solve that in a lot of cases. But then you have to weigh when that's actually the
Right,
case.
and there's always going to be a question. Um, I in my video series, I'm about to introduce Steve. Steve is not always the police. Steve is pretty much the last domino. If you pass a law, then at some point that law has to be enforced, and that's when you call in Steve. In any case, the reason I bring that up is because at some point there has to be uh, a dividing line, a line that says this far and no farther. If you're going to do local control, you have the ability to do local control, but that's not going to you're not going to be allowed to overstep. Now, what to do in those cases? Go through the law. go through, find out is if it's a mayor, a city council, something like that. Is impeachment something that they do at that level? Bring up, bring up charges, but not like, for instance, if I were to be elected, I would probably not bring up charges as Texas representative for District House 57. I would bring up charges as citizen and resident of Little Elm.
Mm-hmm.
The office wouldn't help me because it's just a title. But the idea, if any one of the local officers is stepping out of line, and a lot of people, even a few people, are saying, yes, we see that he's stepping out of line, then it's just a matter of saying, hey, we got to start something. We got to figure out what is the legal ramification, or what is the legal process to remove that person from office, and recall count, what have you.
All right. Sounds good. All right. We are.
I think I'm rambling.
You're not rambling.
No, that was good.
You're like we said beforehand. You may not be on the right cul-de-sac, but you're on the right avenue.
That doesn't make me feel any better,
At least you're in the same time zone. All right. So just as a reminder, so we're about halfway through right now on our questions. If you are watching on one of our platforms, I see a few comments already in the chat. Again, feel free, drop any questions in there if you have. And then when we get to the end, if we still got time left here, then we'll maybe throw some sliders, maybe a curveball or two.
I can talk faster.
Fast pitch then.
There you go.
All right. Here we go. Next question. Question number 5. What is your approach to school choice? It's a big one right now in Texas. And how would you make sure private schools and homeschool families are not burdened by new state mandates?
All right. He said the M word. That gets $1 in the jar. All right.
Mandates. It's another $1.
So I approach school choice as less of something that is a requirement and more towards, is the person receiving the voucher, presumably we're talking about vouchers since we're talking Texas, is the person who's receiving the voucher going to actually benefit from it more than they would have if they hadn't received it? That's kind of where my judgment call comes in. I don't agree the idea of getting private school students vouchers for their tuition. They're in private schools for a reason. There's always going to be an exception, so take the exceptions as they come. But as a general rule, my understanding of, and I really don't approve of it, I don't support it, but the idea of school vouchers is to give students who are in probably a lesser an area where the quality of education is less, the opportunity to move into an area where the quality of education is higher. Until we can find a way to improve the quality of education across the board. And I mean, that's another one of those issues that's taken decades to get to this point. So we're not going to solve it with a very quick, pat answer. The second part of the question, and I'm sorry, I can't see the question. It's cut fine. Off right here. But the second part of the question had to do with
not burdening private schools and homeschools with new mandates.
Okay. Yeah.
It's
So
$3.
the one of the things that I was always curious about as far as homeschools and charter schools and so on is how do they determine the quality of their education? Is there, some sort of standardized test? Now, I also don't agree with standardized tests. I've taken enough of them in my time to know that, well, they're all pretty standard.
Hmm.
But the, the for a homeschool or a charter school, there definitely needs to be some uh, guideline and some way to establish that there is a minimum standard of education for those students. Beyond that minimum standard, I don't think that there's really a whole lot that needs to be done. Um, Charter schools, by virtue of the title, are set up under a charter, and so that charter has the the idea behind the school. Homeschools are just as important. My grandchildren were all homeschooled, and so the advantage in that case is that it's not so structured for the student that they end up losing interest in education altogether.
Yeah.
So yeah, beyond a standard of education, to make sure that at least the students that are in the charter schools and the private schools and the home schools at least all have a standard of education when they leave those schools, so that they can start going into society and for whatever's next, whether it's college or a trade school or going straight into the job market or I don't know, writing an app and getting $1 million and go, going to live on the sea for the next 500 years.
If you can write an app at 16 and make millions of dollars, I don't think you need a college education at that point.
I would
Right.
agree.
You're doing just okay.
Yeah, no, see, and that was part of the issue that I had was, I mean, I graduated high school back in the back in the day, and uh, I didn't have the grades to go to college, and I also didn't have the money. Now, those were reinforcing things, but I had the intelligence. I just
Mhm.
chickened out. No, I chickened out and enlisted. So that's the story I tell. I didn't go to college. I chickened out and enlisted in the Corps.
A little bit less chicken than going to college.
Depends on the college
Yeah.
and whether or
Fair
not you
enough.
pledge rush week.
All
I
right.
Yeah, at
got
this
your
point, you're
rush
almost
week.
more likely to get shot up at a school than in the military.
Well, but I mean, it's like it's really funny. I saw a meme the other day where it was a drill instructor, and he was just in this guy's face, and he says, "Oh, it's rush week. How cute." So I'll show
Uh,
you rush week.
all right. Before we get too far into Rush Week, let's move on to the next question.
I like Rush. They were
It's a
supposed
good,
to play here soon.
great band.
No,
Tech,
magnificent.
Texas is facing concerns about water, grid reliability, and large development such as data centers. What or how would you protect residents and ratepayers without violating property rights?
Okay. Well, first of all, remember what I said earlier about incentives.
Hmm.
Here we go. Let me just jam this pen in my eye, and we'll call it the end of a beautiful day. Um, so yeah, the here's what I know about data centers, and it can be encompassed in probably about 30 seconds. Virtually nothing. It's a whole bunch of computers sitting in a big warehouse in the dark trying to stay cool, and a data center for that much space, that much area being taken up, uh, probably only has about 30 to 40 actual employees. The rest is just the computers doing all the work. Now, that might sound great as far as taxes goes. Hey, the giant AI computers company is going to come over here and they're going to build a big data center. Well, that's great, except that uh, it's out in the middle of nowhere, because that's the only place where properties that size are affordable. And it's going to take a large number of resources away from the local communities, whether they're ranchers, they're farmers, whether they're just out there country people. Um, and those resources are important. The ranchers and the farmers, they try to not overstep what they use, because they realize that doing so is going to upset the balance, and they could end up having a drought or something really untoward happens. You get somebody like this, a data center, big AI data center. They come out and they start taking all these resources, they disrupt the balance, and now even the local residents are going, hey, what's going on? What would I do? I would say, if you as a data center, or your big AI coming in and saying we want to build a data center, show up with more than just flashy dollars. Go up with a plan. Go up to make sure that the residents in the area that you are definitely going to impact are that their impact is going to be minimal at best.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I probably won't support it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of data centers in Texas that are getting tax breaks. They're getting subsidies. They
Yeah,
had
tax
just
abatements,
Mhm.
chocolates, soft romantic music.
Yeah, I think the biggest concern is generally the electric grid,
Yes,
um, because
because I mean, we were already having. I mean, at the extreme ends of the seasonal cycle, in the heavy winters of January and February, and in the heavy summers of August and September, the power grid gets taxed heavily.
Mhm.
And we're not dependent on another state, we're not dependent on another area, it's all right here in Texas. And um, if those two extremes already have and have had documented issues, what's going to happen when we import yet another extreme, or two, or five, or 20
Yeah.
Mhm.
of these data centers in there, who are going to, I mean, unless they're going to bring their own power, I'm thinking, put that in your little prospectus, because that's going to be important.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. If they can bring their own power and if they can do everything on site, then the
Yeah,
grid is not affected.
yeah.
Well, that's not going to be a thing in Texas because because that would require nuclear.
Well, not necessarily. I've heard of. Well, I don't know how they're powering it, but um, all of the water requirements. I think it was China or Japan started putting their data centers underwater off the
Yep.
coast.
Yep. I know. I think Microsoft has tried putting a data center in the ocean just to see
Yeah,
how it works, or a
yeah,
lake
Hmm.
or something.
yeah. I mean, keeps it cool, sort of.
That works.
I imagine that, but I imagine with the heat being generated by those types of
Mhm.
that the surrounding area, it's going to affect the ecosystem.
Hmm. Yeah, that might end up being worse for the environment than just
Yes.
Whatever
because
coal we would have to burn to power the cooling
well,
mechanism on the.
it's the heat bloom in what would normally be a very cold environment.
Mhm.
Yep. All right. Moving on to our next question here. All right. So, spending. What specific state spending, corporate subsidies, or government programs would you cut, reform, or make more transparent?
I have no idea. Seriously, I don't.
Mhm.
I'm not. I really am not following um, a lot of the actual technical details of spending bills and so on. My focus has been, especially in this particular campaign cycle, has been focused on systems and how systems work. And among other things, I'm trying to show how uh, so many things that the conservatives and Republicans believe are things that we agree on the goal. We just may not agree on how to get there. Same with the Democrats. I'm trying to find a way to show that hey, we have similarities. We may agree on the goal. We may not agree how to get there. As a result, I haven't been following those types of issues. As for what I might do to bring in, was that part of the question? I'm sorry, I can't see the question.
Yes, it's just what spending, subsidies, or programs would you cut, reform, or make more transparent?
All of them.
All of them. Yep.
All of them. Well, I mean, so what you're talking about is these are taxpayer funds, and
Mhm.
the taxpayers, in my opinion, deserve to know where their funds are going. So yes, make the get rid of it if the purpose for which it was created has passed and it hasn't come up with a new purpose. Get rid of it. Make it absolutely make it more transparent across the board. But Pare back. Remember, these are uh, these are taxpayer funds. These are the money that people have entrusted to the legislature for their benefit. It's almost like a bank, but more like an IOU.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I can't think of anything better than to make them more transparent.
Perfect. Yeah, it's always fun when you look at a line item and it just says general and there's nothing listed in there. So
Hey,
what is general?
if I'm not a general, then that's not a general.
All right, we're gonna switch over to our last question that we have here, and then we'll move to the chat. We've got a
Okay,
few comments in there.
sure.
Right. What limits should Texas place on surveillance tools, civil asset forfeitures, and other government powers that can be used against people who have not been convicted of a crime?
Wow. Throw everything together again. Okay.
Yeah. What's your plan to fix everything, Darren?
I mean, we could do 15, 20 questions
Okay.
instead.
Okay. Yeah. You remember the old cartoon Pinky and the Brain? The same thing
Mhm.
we do every night, Pinky. We want to take over the world and leave you the hell alone.
Here,
Uh,
here.
so, uh, as far as the surveillance state, the idea of flock cameras, which I've only just recently been introduced to, and the all of the surveillance cameras and being able to track on your phone, these types of things. Um, I realize that a lot of these things can be used to benefit law enforcement. Um, I'm just recently did a video about civil asset forfeiture, and the whole point of it was that it's taking the property away from potential criminals. However, it's not being used like that. And so um, there's a lot that I think has to do more with uh, the environment, the ethics behind a lot of this. If someone is ethical, and this is kind of where the founders, I think, of course, I'm going to toot my own July 4th horn here. This is some where the founders, I think, started to go, is that you're going to need to have people in these positions who have a code of ethics. And when you start to get people in there whose ethics are flexible, then you're going to end up starting to have things where it's not going to work in government. That's a gross generalization, and feel free to apply it wherever you choose.
There you go. I like it.
But the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution protects against unreasonable searches and seizures. In other words, the government has to prove its case in order to do that to you as a private citizen. I'm not sure that the law enforcement looks at it the same way the rest of us do. Law enforcement obviously is trying to find, the criminal, the needle in the haystack. But if they have all of these tools that are available, what's to stop them? And that's, I think, the whole point of the Fourth Amendment. That's what's to stop them. Now, you've got people doing that. They're doing the whole thing in ignorance. In other words, the people out there don't know that they're being actively surveilled. And as long as they're clueless, or it can be uh, steered away from, then we can continue doing it. I think the idea of bringing it to light so that people know this is a possibility, whether they're actively doing it or not, is irrelevant. The idea is that it's there, it can be abused, and just because it can be abused doesn't necessarily mean that it needs a prohibition. It just means that we need to be aware. We need to. Darn it, comic books again. Who watches The Watchmen? So.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw the most recent Supreme Court case. I don't know if it's the most recent one, but the Supreme Court just ruled that when law enforcement reaches out to Google or reaches out to whatever,
Yeah, they
site
have to have a
provider,
warrant now.
well, the geofence warrant is now considered a search according to the Fourth Amendment, and therefore,
Therefore,
right,
they would.
and
Yeah, they need
and
to have a warrant.
you need to have an actual warrant for it, and you can't just do a geofence, scoop up all the data in there, because not everybody is
Right. Well, I mean, if you're looking, so if it, and this is something that I realize as an analyst. I do database searches all the time. So if you know within reason what you're looking for, then you can easily narrow down the search. But if you don't know what you're looking for, and this is where law enforcement comes in, if you don't know what you're looking for, you try to you scan everything and then try and narrow it down.
Yep. And
The
that's
fact that it's illegal,
it's a big no-no.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That is the last of the questions that we had prepared.
Okay.
Let's see here. Let's go over to the chat real quick. So we've got one question here talking about power. What do you think about nuclear power?
I think that if we hadn't stopped our nuclear programs back in the mid 70s, the early to mid 70s, we probably would be farther along with nuclear power and making it safe and easily reproducible and so on. I can't say that nuclear power is the end all be all of power output. A lot of it, I think, has to do with the area in which a person lives. For instance, I used to live in the Pacific Northwest. They have a lot of rivers there. Hydroelectric is perfect for that area.
Mhm.
But in areas where that type of thing, where it's geothermal or wind or solar or something like that, those are not available or not practical, then yes, I think solar or nuclear power uh, should be uh, actively pursued. And I think we should do a lot more research on it. I was really excited about the idea of nuclear fusion reactors, the ones that they've done in China, and the one that they did over in Europe. But I realized that that's still quite a number of decades away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have to see forests of windmills. You wouldn't have to see forests of solar
Right.
panels because a small nuclear reactor can power an
Hmm.
entire city, a small city.
Small
Mhm.
city. Well, and then I mean we have so I was listening to somebody the other day. They were talking about driving through Europe, and I'm going, the table-sized countries of Europe. If you ever look at a map of Europe and then take a map of Texas that's the same size, the same reference.
Proper
Uh,
dimensions.
it- oh, good. Yeah, the proportion.
Mhm.
Oh, holy cow.
Yeah, you drive through 4 countries in the time it takes you to, or
Easily.
more, depending on where you're at.
Yeah, well, somebody was using that as an example for a hurricane relief a couple of years ago, and it's like, okay, so you live in Houston, or the people in Houston, but you live in Dallas. So how close are you? I had to pull out that map,
Mhm.
5
and I
hours.
said, my family lives in Houston. That's down near what is it, Naples, Italy. I live in Dallas. That's closer to Berlin.
Mhm.
That's the distance.
Yeah, people just don't understand. Then they get
Yeah,
here, and then everything's
I
bigger.
mean, yeah. So yeah, we've got huge areas and um, a lot of power requirements. If, for instance, we going back to the data centers, if they wanted to help sponsor safe nuclear power, I would listen.
Hmm.
I can't say that I would approve. I would listen.
Yeah, have them build a nuclear plant for their data center, and then
Before
whatever's left.
the data center shows up.
Yep, and then whatever's left over, toss it onto the grid.
Right.
All right, we got another one here. Going back to talking about money for politicians,
Okay.
money is more likely to indicate corruption than that a candidate truly cares about their constituents.
Okay. So what does that say about me? I'm um that I get the cynicism behind that one. It's you could say that.
Mhm.
I was in 2020, and you can look this up. It was a wash. But I ran for the congressional district that Beth Van Dyne currently holds. And it was against me. It was Beth and me and somebody else. And I cannot say that either of the candidates are corrupt. Um, uh, because, but the campaigns, the parties, their individual parties, funneled so much money into that campaign that it should have shown up as tornado on weather radar. $4 million each. For a congressional district campaign, I had no chance. I got 1.1%. But I would agree that in some cases, yes, you can use the amount of campaign funding raised as an indicator of corruption. I don't think that's always the case. And I'm hoping that if somebody finds out what my corruption is, that I'm not going to that I won't succumb to the weakness.
Fair enough. All right. One last comment I have got here
Okay.
before we call it says, if school choice becomes a requirement, it's not a choice anymore.
That's very true. It's very true. The question is less about whether it's a requirement and what are we choosing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some students, based on my understanding, and again, I'm very limited on the details outside of certain systems, but based on my understanding, some students don't qualify for these types of things. So it's no choice. There's no choice for them. And for the students that there is a choice for, what are they choosing between?
Mm-hmm.
So there are a number of questions. But yes, I would agree with the comment. If it's required, it's no longer a choice.
Yeah. So I know you said you weren't, asking for donations, but if people
Right.
are trying to help out by volunteering or they want to come see you at an event, if you're doing anything in the near
Sure.
future, tell people how
Sure.
they can find out about you, about your campaign, where you're going to be in the near
Well, I
future.
have my website is Hamilton www.hamilton4 Texas just tx.com. hamiltonfortexas.com. There I pretty much have most of the base of my stuff for what I'm campaigning, including why I'm not accepting campaign donations. But I'm at this point I'm not so busy that I would be putting out where I'm going to be. We do have a couple events, the idea of which are still in the planning stages for local types of things, where we're going to hope to get more independent and perhaps other alternate party voters or disaffected major party voters to come out and talk to us and say, hey, help out a charity and so on. But and when that happens, I can put that kind of information on the website. And if
Right.
you sign up on the website, then you should get emails that say, hey, there's an event.
Excellent.
Also on the website, there is a link to several of my YouTube video playlists. If you're interested in anything that I have to say ad nauseum, ad infinitum, go there. You can select from whole bunches of stuff.
Nice.
Perfect. All right. Looks like we're going to wrap up here. David, do you have anything else you wanted to toss towards Darren?
No, thanks for coming on.
Not a problem.
All right, Darren, do you have anything else you would like to mention before we go?
Well, the one thing that I didn't get to, I mean, and I kind of touched on this, was that I'm hoping in my campaign to reach out to the people that I call politically homeless. The idea that the especially if they ascribe to a major party, that they feel ignored or taken for granted or pressured to vote against someone rather than for something. I'm hoping that whatever I'm able to say through the medium I'm able to say it gets to the people who need to hear it, so that we can have more people voting in November.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, Darren, thank you again for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure. We're remember, so anybody who just now tuned in, you missed a great show. You can go back and watch it on YouTube, X, Facebook. We've got it on all those platforms. If you tune into the YouTube one afterwards, YouTube likes to throw closed captioning on there. So if you're hard of hearing, or if you just like to turn the sound off, you can read along with everything that goes on. We've got another interview next week on Tuesday, same time, 7 o'clock, with Jesse Cowart.
Good.
So if you are a subscriber, if you're a follower, if you're not, hit like, hit subscribe, get notifications from when we go live, and check out the conversations and join in. So again, like I said, Darren, thank you again for joining. David, thanks for co-hosting. Everybody else in the audience, y'all take care. Have a great weekend.